Hey guys, welcome to another edition of the Detour. Thanks for joining us. As always, I'm joined by four-time National Road Champion Johnny Trevorrow. Johnny, you've made a big effort with your backdrop there, mate. You've put up a jersey and you're blocking it. We can't even see your little logo.
Well, I tried to hang it somewhere else, but I couldn't hang it. That's the one I just took off when I went for a ride before.
Special episode, Johnny.
It's an old Orica green edge. So there you go.
There you go. And it's Halloween. Happy Halloween. Do you say that? I mean, it's a big American thing, but it's starting to take off.
Yeah, well, no, the kid, we're at the caravan at the holiday park, Jerry's holiday park in Gambia, and the kids have just been going around trick and treating, and they've got bags of lollies, so people are still into it. Yep.
I actually went to America for Halloween. I was in New York. I think it was 2014. It was so much fun. I've got a photo for you, Iffy. This was me dressed as Chucky, and I met a random down the street and got a photo with her. She was obviously a whoopee cushion.
Which one's you?
I'm the one on the left, mate. And the costume was that good. There was no other Chuckies in New York, so people were actually offering me $5 for a photo like the pros get in Times Square. So we've got a monster episode. We're going to be checking in with George Bennett. He's just sent through a photo, John. This is what he's having to navigate his way through. This is his breakfast. There's an omelette and about 4 kilos of rice. And we're going to check in with Allan Davis. We're going to give him a fair bit of stick. We can talk about the relegation of Sam Bennett the other day. And, of course, Matt White, because we need someone that knows a bit about bike racing that can analyse what's going to happen because, mate, they are some filthy stages coming up over the next couple of days at the Vuelta.
Next 2 days. Today, no wonder he's having all that rice for breakfast because he's got a monster that day today and tomorrow.
We've got some comments coming in. Tom says, I was wondering what was whiffy. About the whoopee cushion. Yeah, nice one. And Sam says, Alex was on fire last night. Do you think Mitchell and Scott burnt too much energy too early?
No, I don't, because I think he wasn't burning any energy. The rest of the team was just making sure they closed that gap because they thought he was a chance. So, you know, they were up there. Young Stannard's riding really well, but wow, what a ride of Roglic last night, eh? Whew.
Oh, he's unbelievable. When we spoke to George Bennett a couple of days ago, and he was talking about obviously the jacket gate incident, but he said how he was still feeling good, and it was just a matter of once they got back on, they were outnumbered 10-1. But he was still in good form, and he's showing it. And the punters agree. I mean, he's $1.36 to win the Vuelta. I think he's $3.60 for the stage tonight. Is anyone going to get near him? Can Carapaz do it?
Yeah, this will suit Carapaz even more so because he's such a great on the steeper climbs like that. But who can sell with Roglic? I was a bit disappointed. Carapaz actually eased just once he realised he was done. He eased a fraction, not realising the bunch would split, and that cost him the 3 seconds, which cost him the leader's jersey. It'll be really interesting if Roglic beats him easy tonight. Well, then it's game over. But I would be surprised. I think those two have got a bit of a duel coming up.
Okay, now let's get into our first guest. It's Allan Davis. We spoke to him the other day. He's working with the UCI. Albie, how are you travelling, mate?
Good, mate. Go, JT. How you going, boys?
Gail, there's the old frozen photo. It's always scary at the start when you hear your voice and your lips aren't moving. You're like a ventriloquist, you are, Albie.
What did you say? Call him a ventriloquist?
Yeah.
It's a ventriloquist.
That's what I said. That's what I thought I said. We have.
Now, Allan, let's get straight into it. What happened 2 days ago, mate? You, more than anyone, should understand sprinting, and argy-bargy is just part of the sport, mate. What happened?
Oh, mate, it's a complicated situation. Yeah, definitely. I understand sprinting, as you know well, and I seen what was happening, sort of, not only in the last kilometre, but also in the last few kilometres leading into there was a corner about a kilometre and 200 metres out from the finish, mate. So as you know, all the team directors give the same, give the same information, you have to go into the corner at the front. So there was a lot of there's a lot going on coming into that corner, and obviously on the coming out of the corner and coming into that sprint. And there was unfortunately it wasn't just a little bit of rubbing shoulders. 2 days ago there was 2 violent shoulder charge movements from Sam. Unfortunately, that was just a little bit over the limit. So I'm not a commissaire, but at the UCI, but the commissaires had to make a decision, and and the reality is, mate, I don't think, and Sam, he also said it as well, he didn't really have to do it. It was kind of more an anger because he's seen what was going on. The same thing happened to his lead out rider in front of him at the time. So it was kind of like get away from a mate as well. So and the fastest guy, it didn't affect the result. I'm 100% clear of that. Sam was the fastest. He did the best sprint. The actual last 200 meters was really clean. Nothing happened. So it was just one of those racing incidents. And like I said to Sam, after sometimes you win, sometimes you don't. And it's just how the cookie crumbles sometimes.
So what happens in that situation, Albie? So as you say, you're not a commissaire, but you're on that panel. Did they call you in and ask you for your opinion?
No, JT. That's not part of my work. I'm basically there just to help them. Unfortunately, that we don't have footage of we normally have a VAR, like in soccer, like a replay van with all the technology that we can use. Well, I can't use the commissaires use to make their decisions, but unfortunately it's not here. So the guys had to, race around looking for footage to slow it down. And with the bubble situation as well, it wasn't easy to find people that are in the same bubble as the commissaires. So it was all pretty hard for the commissaires, to be honest, JT. And I'm not involved in the decision. They do their work. I'm just there to make sure that they're in a safe environment to make the decision, and the rider and the sports director are in a quiet room. We're not in front of the public because there's a lot of people with mobile phones out, just videoing the whole situation on the street. So basically, my job was there just to put them in a professional place so they can do their work. And that's about it, mate.
We've got a comment that's come in from Buster Thomas. He says, yesterday's stage had some confusion with the finish times, 3-second gap, then no gap, then 3 seconds again. Who makes those decisions and why the confusion?
Once again, the commissaires make those decisions. It's part of their role. There was there's rules for massive sprint days and obviously climbing days. So the commissaires, there's a bit of confusion there, I believe. But there was time gaps taken in between each rider as they come across the line.
Iffy?
A bit tricky on stage.
Yeah, well,
when they're uphill.
Yeah, so it seemed that they at first go 3 seconds, but they ended up giving even though there was a gap of nearly 3 seconds, 2 seconds, back to second, third, they ended up giving them the same time, and the time gap was back about 8 places, and that's where it was another gap, and that's where Carapaz lost the 3 seconds. So the guy who got second, third, fourth, fifth, they got the same time as Roglic, evidently. So it was a bit strange. It was the way it was sorted out.
Yeah. I'd like to say, boys, I'm definitely not a commissaire, and it's not my job. I was there just checking out the safety aspect, the barriers and just the whole run into that finish line they did a really good job once again, the organisers, and I was there concentrating on that.
Oh, that's
so what you're saying, Albie, is we can't blame you. Is that what you're saying? We can't blame you. Cover up that UCI badge, mate. Just cover it up.
Yeah, no, I actually did like what you said the other day, JT, about having former sprinters like a committee. That's definitely a good call. I definitely think that an ex former sprinters have a really good feel for, like me, looking at the safety of the whole last kilometre, for example. You find little details that if you didn't do over a decade sprinting, you wouldn't find it. So maybe a committee on board that you can relate to is a pretty. I think that's a pretty good call.
Well, why don't you speak to the brass at the UCI and give yourself the title as the president of the sprint committee? Be the first ever sprint committee and just be the top of the tree. You might get a good little chop out of that.
But adding to that, Albie, it's ridiculous. But it's ridiculous that there's the guys are there, and you've got one of my grandsons trying to come through the door there. The guys are there, and it's all happening here. And you've got one of a former world's top sprinter working with them. Why wouldn't they grab you in there and ask your opinion?
It's a bloody joke.
Well, to be a commissaire, mate, especially an international commissaire, there's a lot of courses that you have to go through, and I haven't got that experience, or I haven't done any courses of commissaires. Definitely, I have the practical experience of know-how, but legally, I've got no input at all at the commissaires. The way the situation is at the moment, and they need a lot of respect. It's not an easy job. It's under the guys are under the pressure. I'm definitely learning a lot more now, after cycling, on what goes on with the commissaires and these guys. They find me when I was racing. I was sanctioned. So
never.
People, they're great people, great men and women that I've worked with over the last 2 years. But I'm not a commissaire. I'm a technical advisor here, so maybe moving forward is something that maybe we could look into it at the UCI internally.
Yeah, I like that title, President Allan Davis of the Sprint Commission.
We spoke to Robbie last night about it, and Robbie, when I first spoke to him before we went to air, he said, no, he looked at the bump, he said there's a bit, two of them, but then when he looked at it in more detail, he said, look, what really doesn't fit right with him is that you had a guy trying to move in on a sprint train. You got the sprint train leading out the guy. Yeah. You just don't do that. You don't try and move the guy who's getting the lead out off the wheel. Well, that's what was happening. Anyway.
Exactly. That's what I was going to. That's what I was relating to before. Now, I understand exactly what the frustration Sam had, and there's unwritten rules that you just don't do. And he was trying. It wasn't only that last kilometre, like I said, leading into that last corner. It was already trying to get into a lot of the trains. So that's an unwritten rule that you don't do. Unfortunately, what Sam did wrong was, and the commissaire said it as well, it wasn't just a general leaning on to hold his position. A good sprinter always holds his position. It was just that really violent two move.
Yeah, it was a crow peck to the guts.
It was a ripper. I thought it was bloody ripper.
So,
before we let you go, Albie, you got a busy day ahead. What are you predicting for this filthy stage 11? Have a look at that.
Oh, the next 2 days, boys, are incredibly hard. We've got that to do today. And then tomorrow we have Angry-Lou, one of the hardest climbs in the world, actually, in terms of gradient. So
it's this one.
Yeah. So especially Angry-Lou. The last time I went up there, my car bloody couldn't make it. The clutch burn out. I reckon, mate, Roglic, unbelievable the way he's going at the moment. And to give you a little bit of a tip, boys, yesterday's stage, the finals, this last K was uphill, quite tricky. His sports director was there at 8:00 in the morning, just doing laps up and down that last K to give advice to Roglic for the stage. So they're here they're meaning business here. The guys setting up the finish were there, and the team director's doing laps on his bike up and down the finish. So I reckon he'll be thereabouts today, and tomorrow, and they're here to win the Vuelta.
Well, the UCI is going to have the work cut out, mate, because there's going to be a lot of riders, I reckon, that aren't going to make the time cut. And a lot of it will be they'll just be in the group header and you can stick this race fair up the wrist hole. I'm not going to do that for sure.
Yeah, I might change my shirt there today and tomorrow.
Yeah,
might hide at the finish here a little bit so I don't get all the old teammates and sports directors ripping into me.
Yeah. Well, thanks for joining the detour, Albie, and congratulations on your pending title as president of the Sprint Commission, mate. It's a just reward for a long career, and wish you all the best.
Good on you, Jonesy.
You got our vote, mate. You got our vote.
Allan Davis, I just got a message from George Bennett that he's ready to go. So
whack him on.
We're going to whack him on. But, yeah, you look at those profiles. I mean, that is absolutely filthy today. And then tomorrow, I've never seen a climb that looks like they're going over Everest.
Yeah. Well, you watch them. You've done it in the past, and they're almost standing still. You don't see any of that little tiny pedaling, even with the biggest cog and everything. They're struggling to get up that one. Tomorrow's is a real ripper.
Sam says Bennett was last across the line last night. He didn't look very well. Any news? That's not George. It must be Sam.
No. Sam was in real trouble. Matter of fact, they were trying to set it up for him because they thought, some thought the sprinter might be able to get there. So they were working for him. But he got spat quite early, and he was really struggling. He will have big trouble getting in the time cut today, I reckon.
Yeah.
But not George. George will do it easy.
Oh, yeah. He's going really good. We've got another comment from Troy Rogers. Love the podcast, guys. Quick question. When a rider sits up on a climb, what sort of wattage would they be doing? Would you have any insight on that, John? Or we'll save that for George?
Save that for George. Yeah.
Okay. Well, before George comes on, I reckon it's time to give Michelin a plug, mate.
Oh.
Have you got your script?
No.
No. Before we do. I had a lot of comments of people saying you do talk over each other. So the finger, just keep using the finger and then wait till I go, John, when we do the interview. So when we talk with George, our goal is we're going to get through this whole interview and no one's going to talk over the top of each other.
And so far, we've been very successful with the finger.
Yes. But
do the Bike Exchange ad first while I go and find my notes.
Okay. Okay. Here's a quick word from our great mates at Bike Exchange.
Look at this bike. You think it's just a bike, right? But it's not. It's a bike 374 people are looking at. This guy, this girl, them, all looking at it. People from here, there, and wherever this is. People that are looking for a bike. Or just a piece of it. Amateurs, semi-amateurs, and pro-amateurs. This guy wants this bike, but with this crank and these bars. This could be the perfect match. But not this one. This girl has a bike to sell, and thousands of people might purchase it. Eyes on Bikes help grow small businesses. His, hers, yours, and the latest data and insights help those businesses keep moving. We are the world's #1 bike marketplace, with over 500,000 products and 900 brands, where buyers and sellers are brought together in a place where a bike is never just a bike. Bike Exchange, where the world buys, sells, learns, and rides.
Great ad. How'd you go with your notes, John?
Yes, we're there. No sign of George yet.
Oh, hang on, George. I don't think we waste his time. I think we get him straight in. But I think he might be having technical difficulties because I can't see his picture. But I'll bring him in. George, are you there, son?
I'm here, but I'm not looking too flash on your screen.
Have you turned your video off, or what's going on, mate?
Oh, yeah, that might be it.
Oh, there we go.
Oh, that's it.
Another tip, can you tilt your camera so we can see your beautiful face? Yeah, there you go.
Perfect.
Just showing my
Hey,
inexperience as a podcaster.
No, you're all right, mate. How'd you go getting through that 10 kilos of rice?
Oh, I was a DNF on the last part. I
Yeah?
mean, that was amongst other sort of other things we had to put in, but it was basically a 1,200 calorie breakfast, and I think that's the last time for 2020 I can confidently say I'm going to put away a massive plate of rice for breakfast.
Yeah, like
Well,
it must
it's a
get
big day
hard
today, mate.
John, you just cut me off. You've done it straight off the bat.
You didn't put your finger up, mate.
Okay, keep going. Sorry, George. We're still learning this podcast game ourselves. John, would you like to ask George a question?
I was just saying you'll need every one of those calories, mate, because it's a monster day today. It looks like a real a tough day in the office for you, bud.
Yeah, it's a real Daryl Tuffy. You know who Daryl Tuffy is? Probably people don't know.
Yeah.
It's a tough stage, and it's a Queen stage, so it's all in today. And I feel like after this weekend, after today and tomorrow, we'll have a pretty good idea who's going to win the Vuelta.
Primoz must be feeling pretty good, mate. Like, geez, he looked strong yesterday, and the confidence must be sky high at the moment.
Yeah, he kind of flicked us a little bit by taking the jersey, so now we've got to ride all day. It would have been nice if he just won the stage and didn't gap them, and then we could have just been a second behind and let Cameron Worth and Froome do all the work today. But yeah, unfortunately, now I've got to roll up the sleeves and chase anyone that goes up the road, and I think it's going to come thick and fast from Movistar. They're just going to launch. I got 3 guys of the day.
Oh, we've got Wi-Fi issues.
I really remember about the stage was that Brambilla and Rovni punched on.
All right.
What?
I'm in a fortified hotel. Yeah. So what I was saying was the only thing I remember from this stage when I did it in 2014 was the punch on between Rovni and Brambilla. So that's worth a look. I recommend revisiting that.
What happened? I don't remember.
Oh, they just punched on. It was good. Look it up. Google it. YouTube it for the viewers.
Okay.
That was the one at the end of the stage, just after finishing the stage, wasn't it? Yeah.
No. They were on the bike. It was good. It was good. It was a good battle. I mean, they were in the breakaway and one wasn't pulling and one had a guy behind or something. And yeah.
Oh, so, yeah. No, I'll have to check it out. Bring back the div.
I've actually got to shoot, boys.
That's all right, mate.
We're out of here, but yeah, today's the Queen's Age, and wish us luck.
Well, we're expecting a big ride from you today, mate, because last time we had you on, you absolutely starred that day. So I think we're your Red Bull, mate. We give you a bit of wings, so I think you'll go today.
Yeah, it's all us, mate. It's all the detour.
Yeah, it's good. It's just really it's like it's a sure way to make sure your day can't start and get any worse. You start with a detour and then it's only uphill from there.
What a way to finish. Good on you, George. We'll speak to you soon, mate.
All right, boys. See you later.
Thanks, George. See you, mate.
Well, that's all you need. Short and sharp. We got an insight into what he's eating. The guys are confident. George is pissed off that they've taken the jersey early. Sensational.
We'll have to Google that fight that he was talking about. So see if we can find that.
Yep, for sure. I can't remember that fight. Normally, I'm pretty good with those eras around 2014 and so forth. Yeah. All right, John. Mitchelton Wines.
Okay. And I'll be there tomorrow, as I mentioned. My son's 40th birthday tomorrow, so we'll have some special pics to show you. But one of Australia's favourite wineries and a place of escape, Mitchelton Winery. Experience the history, the beauty, and the serenity of the Goulburn Valley at your own pace. Looking over the vineyards from the iconic tower, staying at the new hotel. There it is there, just absolutely glorious. Relaxing by the pool, recharging in the day spa, exploring the seasonal menu at the Muse restaurant, which I will be doing big time tomorrow. Stopping by the Providore, touring the cellars, and of course tasting their signature wines. It's become a very popular venue for weddings and major functions. And of course, make sure you get down to the Aboriginal Art Gallery, which is world class, and have a look at the amazing array of paintings. And of course, the $10,000 Land Cruiser with the $1.2 million paint job. So I'll be down there putting a bid in for you tomorrow.
It is one of the most expensive cars in Australian history. You've got to get down and see it. It's one of a kind. It's absolutely
by end of this Vuelta, it'll be worth about $3 million, I reckon.
For sure. So what is the plan for the 40th? What are you just going to sit around and have lunch, and you got anything else?
Yeah, so we're going to the Muse. We've got 2 tables. So I've got my 4 kids, and most of the grandkids weren't allowed to come, all the adult grandkids, because they were driven us mad. But the 3 little ones we had to bring along, or the 4 little ones. So they'll be making a nuisance of themselves. But the rest of us, so we're going for a beautiful lunch, and then into wine tasting after lunch, and then we're just going to try and work out how we get home.
Oh, yeah, they're minor details. Hey, just on that chat with Allan Davis before, that's a good idea. If he gets on the front foot and creates like some sort of sprint commission or something just for those sprint stages when they have to review it, that makes sense, doesn't it?
It does. It needs some of the DSs. We'll talk to Whitey about it. We need some of the DSs. Here he comes to suggest it to them.
Morning, gentlemen.
How are you, Whitey?
Yeah, good. Yourself?
Good, thanks, mate. We've got a bit of an echo going on at the moment. I don't know what's happening there. But anyway, how's the school sports going?
Good. Just my oldest son's about to kick off, actually, and then I've got to go straight to football after that. So busy morning this morning.
Looks like we've got a couple of filthy stages ahead at the Vuelta. Can anyone roll Roglic for this tour, you think?
Look, I think Carapaz looks very good as well. But I do see it eventuating into a bit of a 2-horse race between those 2 gentlemen. And after this weekend, then you got a rest day. Then you got the only time trial of the race on Tuesday. And I think after that, whoever's leading by Tuesday afternoon is going to be pretty hard to dethrone.
Iffy?
Yeah, so because the last week is nowhere near as severe as the first half, or just over half of the Vuelta has been. These 2 days are definitely the toughest. But as you say, Whitey, whoever's really leading on Tuesday will be the winner. I mean, even if Carapaz got a small lead over the next 2 days, he's probably going to lose, 45 seconds or something to Roglic in the time trial anyway.
Yeah, I agree. But I think if the 2 of them can stay close by Tuesday, it's going to be really interesting last week, because they have definitely been the 2 strongest teams and the 2 strongest leaders. But look, what's amazing me about Roglic is the man hasn't stopped. Like, since we started back racing after the resumption of racing with COVID, the guy has not stopped and has not stopped winning since we started back 3 months ago. So, look, if he has a weakness, it'll be the last week. But he certainly hasn't shown any up to date.
No. We spoke with Robbie McEwen yesterday, and I thought he had a pretty good explanation for this resurgence of these young stars, and that was they come up to form really quick as opposed to the old dogs, which need that racing in their legs. Do you agree with that?
I do for some guys. I think Roglic probably goes against the curve a little bit there. But also you've got to take into the fact that in Slovenia, they didn't have a lockdown at all. So Roglic was able to train this whole year. Okay, he missed a big block of racing, but I definitely think it did hurt the likes of Nibali in the Giro, especially the older guys. Definitely, and I do agree that young guys do come up quicker. Young guys, they don't need the same amount of competition as the older guys. But yeah, look, it's been a very interesting year. But I definitely think we've seen a changing of the guard with some of the young guys, because if you look at someone like Almeida at the Giro, the kid was 22, first-year professional, and the way he handled the Giro, and not only handled it, besides being in the jersey for 14 days, finishing 4th in the last stage time trial, and if you go back to look at his results over the last 2 years, which I have, there's nothing really that stands out that impressive. But to do what he did in his first year, to tell you, lockdown, no lockdown, the kid's got an engine, and there's been some very impressive results from young riders throughout the season.
Iffy?
Yeah, no, I was very impressed with him. And I was very impressed with, even though Sunweb lost the race, I was impressed with the way that they raced it, their tactics. I don't think they did a thing wrong. The only thing that stuffed them up was the Aussie, Rowan Dennis, putting up those 2 days in the mountains. But no, a fantastic race. And we're getting a brilliant Vuelta now. I mean, this has been a bike race and a half. And every day they're going for it. So today is going to be a ripper.
Yeah, well, today's the longer of the days. I don't know today's climbs at all. I know the Angliru tomorrow. I think today's 170k. Pretty solid day in the office, and then tomorrow's only 109. But my God, it's got some climbs in it. And usually the shorter stages are more entertaining and race the harder anyway. So regardless, they're hard finals, and I think you're going to see a lot more of a shake up in the GC by the end of the weekend.
That last climb tomorrow, it's got ramps of over 20%, hasn't it?
It's one of the hardest climbs in cycling. It's I don't know too many climbs that are harder, and I don't know what the weather's like for Sunday, but I know if it is wet, it's one of those climbs where it's that steep you struggle. If you get out of the seat, you struggle to hold traction. That's how steep it is. I did the first time they used the Angliru. I did it back in 2001, I think, and it's a nasty climb. And knowing the northern Spain, they've been pretty lucky with the weather so far. But if at this time of year, they're highly likely they get some rain as well.
Hey, Whitey, with the whole GC approach for Grand Tours on all the results that have happened this year, there's been obviously a couple of surprise results, but where do you go in terms of preparation? Like it's been said many a times, it doesn't hold much weight if you finish 5th to 10th on GC. And with all these guns that are coming, particularly the young brigade, how does that sort of change your approach to next year? Obviously, you've got Simon Yates, but will the other races, if you're like, well, if we don't think we're going to finish top 5, then we'll just go for stages?
Look, we're in the process now of sort of building a calendar for next year. Just waiting to see firstly what happens with the Australian summer. That'll affect a fair bit of what we do very soon if that's on. And otherwise, we'll start our racing back into the traditional European races. But we've got at the moment, obviously, Simon Yates is the big changer for us is the arrival of Michael Matthews. It just opens up another scope of races for us to win next year, which we didn't have, which is great, especially in the one-day races. But I think next year for us, a big focus will be also developing Lucas Hamilton. We do see him as a rider who can take the mantle as a GC rider, and so we'll be giving him opportunities, especially throughout the spring, for him to slot into that leadership role and run him probably adjacent to what we do with Simon. And we're looking at next year's calendar and Simon's ambitions to win the Olympics. The Giro will probably be a big focus for Simon next year anyway. So that does open up opportunities. But I think when if you're in a race there where you're not developing a rider, then I think you're right. The best thing is to go for stage wins. And we've got a good array of guys who are capable of winning stages in those races. So you just got to, depending on the final makeup of where your leaders go, it's a good approach to take.
Well, just on that, given the results of Jai and Teo, how far do you think Lucas would have gone in the Giro if he had have been able to stay on?
Very. Lucas was in a good place when we left. He was actually in front of Teo on GC, a little bit behind, like 30, 45 seconds behind Jai. But I would have expected him to challenge for a podium for sure.
And how's he holding up mentally, sitting on the sidelines and seeing those results?
Look, it wasn't easy for any of us. If you look at I read an interview this week about Geraint Thomas. When you put so much effort into getting ready for an event, it's weird to watch it from the sideline. Especially under the circumstances that we had to leave. It is really weird. But look, Lucas is back in Australia now, doing his quarantine before he gets back to see his family. But we just all had to, for the people involved in the Giro, press the reset button and have a little bit of a rest. And then we're carrying on carrying on to get ready for next season.
Iffy.
We've just been talking about the sprint stage 2 days ago when Sam Bennett got rubbed out. We had Robbie on giving his opinion, and we were just talking to Allan Davis. We reckon that the UCI commissaires should have some guys with actual sprint experience in a little, like a sprint panel to refer to, because you've got guys who don't even know what they're talking about. I mean, you don't get people who shouldn't be jumping into the sprint line, which is what happened. I know he gave them a bit harder nudge, but I thought there's too often these old guys who haven't got the proper experience, whereas he had a panel of actual ex-road sprinters who could advise them. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I don't think it's a bad idea at all. And I think the biggest problem with the UCI and decisions, especially around sprinting, is just consistency. I think anyone can deal with the rules and adapt to the rules, but as long as they're the same for everyone, as long as you're not getting disqualified at the Vuelta and then the next week you get away with the same action. So what riders want and what teams want is consistency. So we understand that there's been a couple of bad accidents this year, and maybe there's been a couple of knee-jerk reactions by some of the commissaires to put a bit of fear in some of the sprinters because they don't want more accidents like that, which is fair enough, but it's got to be consistent. And I agree that a little bit of actual knowledge of how a sprint works certainly doesn't go astray.
We'll get you on the ball. We'll get the panel going, mate. Well, if you've got someone like Allan Davis there, he's working with the UCI. On every stage, he's there to be able to speak to you. You think that someone like that, who was a good sprinter and knows what he's talking about, you think they could have called him in?
And it's not that big a move. And it just adds a little more of credibility to their decision in the end.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for joining us again, Whitey. What's the score at what are you at the handball?
I'm at handball at the moment. She's 0-0 at the moment, mate.
How do you go watching from afar? Are you one of those obsessive parents that can dive in and get quite emotional, particularly when it comes to sports like soccer?
I have known to be, but actually the soccer parents actually here, I think they do many places around the world. They scare me, actually. They wherever the sport is, whatever the most popular sport is in any nation, the parents there are usually the most feral. And they all think their son's going to turn them into the next Leo Messi and take them out of Spain. But yeah, football is pretty serious. But the parents, handball and football are totally different. I know it's the difference between it's a professional sport here in Europe as well, but certainly not with the same money. So the parents are not quite as obsessed.
Well, they had professional coaches for these under sixes. I remember you telling me back in the day.
Yeah. No, mate, you go to any park of an afternoon in Australia and you'll see the one-on-one professional coaching with the kids with soccer. It's a big industry. And then parents paying someone to coach their little Johnny to improve and to move his way up the ranks. But it doesn't happen here in Spain, but it happens in Australia.
But wasn't Julian Dean's kids, they couldn't get a start for the local side in Valencia, and then they went back home to New Zealand. They were representing the country.
Yeah, well, not quite the country, but very high level. No, it's a true story. Julian's oldest son, because the kids here start football soccer at 3 years of age. So, and they're training twice a week for an hour at least. So by the time they get to 7 years of age, they've done the amount of training and skill work they've done is nearly double of what kids in Australia do at the same age. Kids don't play football at 3 or 4 years age, maybe 5 or 6. So they've got a couple of years. They're a couple of years up already. So Tanner was just an average knock-around kid here in Spain, not one of the best kids. And then when he went back to New Zealand, because he'd had so many years more skill work, he was just running. And back in Australia and New Zealand, there's Auntie Jane and Uncle Bob are the coaches, and and here in Spain, all the coaches of the younger kids are athletes. So what they do is because most of the bigger clubs here, they have a senior team that play in 4th division or whatever, and so those players are semi-professional. But part of the deal is that they'll pay them to play in 4th division. But part of the deal is they have to coach an under 7 and an under 9 team. So actually, the coaches here are actual players, and so the level of coaching here is higher and it's subsidised. which there's no surprise why a country like Spain is one of the world's best in football.
Yeah, fascinating stuff. Well, as we said, thanks again for joining the detour, mate. Get back to the handball, and we'll check in with you just before the end of the Vuelta and get your take on what's going to transpire over the final couple of stages, mate.
Perfect. Big weekend ahead. Be great watching.
Good stuff, mate.
See you, gents.
See you, Matty.
There's DS Matty White. Geez, I had my work cut out then. I had to mute his mic every time we started talking so we didn't get that echo.
No.
See, these are all the things you don't see behind the scenes, Iffy.
I didn't realise that. But the minute I leave you completely alone, you can't handle it.
Mate, I'm at the peril of this technology. Now, one segment that we used to love on this show was the Detour DeLorean. I thought, why not bring it back for tonight? Let's go.
Roads? Where we're going, we don't need roads.
Now, this is relevant because we had a comment from Tom saying Chavez is going pretty well. He's still got a chance to move up behind the top two. Where is he on GC at the moment, Iffy? I think he's still 4 or 5 minutes behind him.
Yeah, no, not quite that far, but he's dropped back a bit over the last couple of days.
Yeah, well, I've spoken about it a few times. In the 2015 Giro Vuelta, Esteban was in the red jersey, and on stage 9, it was just pandemonium out the front of the team bus. So I wanted to show a snippet of that backstage pass to show how fanatical the Colombian fans were that day.
As chief of security, does this scene worry you a bit?
I think for today you need somebody bigger, a little bit bigger than me, I think.
So you've been relieved of your duties?
Yeah. Well, actually, it's funny you ask. This morning I had a call. You remember the first stage we had Katy Perry on the backstage pass, and then yesterday she saw the footage of me working as a bodyguard, and she actually gave me a phone call.
Really?
Yeah. I said for the next 2 weeks I'm not available, but maybe after that.
You thought you were in the first minute though. Garo, how you pulled up after yesterday, mate?
Well, considering, not too bad really. Fortunately, only damages to my head, so hopefully the legs are still going to be pretty good today.
And pretty crazy scenes out the front of the bus today, mate.
Yeah, too right. I reckon we should probably go and do a tour of Colombia after looking at these sort of fans.
They didn't hang around to wait for you.
Well, I just missed it. I don't think they can about me.
Poor Mitch. They didn't wait around for his autograph. But yeah, that was crazy.
So Esteban is 7th at 3 minutes 28, but he's still only a couple of minutes. So Dan Martin's 3rd at 25 seconds, Hugh Carthy at 51, then it's 154. So 5th is Enric Mas at 154. So it's only just a minute off that. So in the next couple of days, and these are climbs that really does suit the little smiling assassin, as they call it.
Did you just burp then?
No, I didn't. So don't blame your sound malfunctions on me, Daniel.
Mate, I'm going back to 44 minutes and 53 seconds. I'm going to run the tape after this.
I did not burp.
Okay.
or make any other bodily sounds, okay?
Okay. All right.
It could be different tomorrow night, though, after the big day in at Mitchell.
Oh yeah, you're gonna have to make sure you're chopping in waters, mate. You know, we don't want to let what was his name, Les Patterson. You don't want that sort of thing. Yeah. Now we've got a comment from our mate Stewie McIntosh. If he always has some great stories, does he have any about interactions with some of the biggest names in the sport, like Eddie Merckx or Lance Armstrong? What do those blokes like to talk to? Oh wow! How long have you got?
Yeah. Well,
how long have you got?
I work a couple of quick ones. Well, I interviewed Lance a few times, but then on the tour of Ireland,
wallet.
Yes, I did. The tour of Ireland, we got stuck with him in the pub. But when I got crook with cancer a few years back, right when he was at the height of his problems, he did send me a really nice email wishing me the best. But I've got a couple of great Eddie Merckx stories because when Eddie broke the hour record, we got there. I think I have told this on Detour before, but so Donnie Allan, myself, and Clyde Sefton, we were riding through a Mexico amateur race, and we all got eliminated. And a guy named Mike Neal, a very good American. So we right across Mexico, we were miles away. It took us a day and a half to get to Mexico City. And we got there the day that he broke the hour record. We were there and watched it jump the fence. We were one of the first to him. And there's this big crowd. We're getting pushed. And I got this little home movie camera. And I hit him in the head with the camera. You see, he's just broken the hour record and he's having to rub his head. And years later, I got lucky enough to race against Eddie and, whatever. But I was the first person to import his bikes into Australia, and I was out to dinner with him, and I told him that story. As soon as I said, I hit you in the head with the camera, he started rubbing his head. I remember that. So, my Eddie Merckx story. I was one of the few people to hurt Eddie Merckx.
Well, there you go. Classic. And, I mean, if you want to see some footage of Iffy with Lance from 2005, I reckon maybe tomorrow on the Detour DeLorean, I'll bust out some footage from the old Detour, the original movie. Yeah. All right. A few more comments, just general checking in. Carolyn, g'day. Jenny Whitehead, good evening, George. Sorry, I should have showed that a bit earlier. And then Wombat, he says, surely if the commissaire accreditation does not require sprinting experience, then the accreditation system is flawed and needs fixing.
I agree, Wombat.
On your Wombat. We got another question. Geez, the fans are into you, John. JT, how'd you get into journalism?
Actually, a guy named Colin Duck, who was one of the great editors of the Sun.
Ducky,
a great man, contacted me a couple of years after I'd stopped racing and asked me if I'd just like to do a comment piece on the Sun Tour. I said, okay. So that's how I started. The first year, I just had a journo traveling with me. I just went to the pub and gave him a few notes and he did the rest. The second year, they made me do a bit of work. I started writing and then I ended up working for the paper for a while. I did a weekly column for a couple of years with the Sun and loved it. And mainly about racing, of course, although for quite a while I was just writing on general cycling and the bike paths and stuff like that. But I've loved it. But that was back in, I suppose it'd be mid-'80s, late 80s. Yeah.
And what some people might not know is how we first met. You used to take some people over to the Tour de France, and my father went on the tour in 2004. And yes, and at one point, the Tour de France would have thought that the Geelong Advertiser was the biggest newspaper in Australia, based on the amount of accreditations that were linked to them. You had drivers. What were some of the roles you had? Photographers.
Not just the Geelong Advertiser, also Sport 927.
Yeah.
They had a few in there. We had quite a large group. I got a little bit over the top at one stage. A couple of class clowns who created a bit of trouble.
Oh, yeah.
Like Lil in the
that's right.
in the press
In the
center.
press center.
But we survived it all. Yeah.
Yeah.
So then, so when your dad come home, he gave you were the apprentice filmmaker at the time.
Yeah, film school. And then I saw this footage of the Tour de France, and I'm like, wow, this would make an unbelievable documentary. And it all just went from there. And then we pitched the idea to do a doc on the 2005 Tour de France 3 weeks before the tour left. And I remember when I was at the tour, I had no idea, and I still don't, how the race worked and tactics. And it was embarrassing, like how little the knowledge was back then.
No. The most embarrassing is you didn't know how to use the bloody camera.
Yeah, that's right. Good time. Tom Alaris, I'll never forget that spray when we handed the footage in on that first day, and it was wide shots of you interviewing Cadell. And I remember handing it in and going to Tomo, "Oh, what do you think of the footage?" And he just shook his head and he said, "Mate, it's shit house. Have you ever worked in TV before?" I said, "Nah. I used to do wedding videos, and even they were shit."
But they used all of your footage, though, mate.
Yeah, we came good. Skull, he said I was a chauffeur at one stage. I think that was a common role on the tour, but yeah, good times.
Yeah.
All right, mate. Final predictions for stage 11. Who's going to win?
Oh, gee, I think it's a really good one.
Do you want to know the odds?
Yeah,
Roglic 360,
Roglic
Carapaz 550, Martin 950, Hugh Carthy $11, Clement Champosin $11.
Yeah. Look, I can't see them beating Roglic today. I just think he's the man in form, and he'll be too good. Yeah.
All right. Well, stay tuned. We'll debrief all the action from stage 11 on tomorrow's episode, and no doubt Johnny's going to be licking up. So it's going to be an episode that you're not going to want to miss. So stay tuned tomorrow night, 7:30 Australian Eastern Standard Time for another episode of The Detour.